What's up everybody? If you're a fan of both Lego and Overwatch and couldn't get enough of the Lego Overwatch sets released in the first wave back in January, then you're in luck because it has officially been revealed that Lego is planning to release a second wave of Lego Overwatch sets later this coming summer. There's not a whole lot of information we know about these new sets just yet, but we do have just enough details for me to be able to piece together what these new sets are most likely going to be and which heroes are going to be included as minifigures. This is Master Ian Gamer, and let's get into it. First off, I have to give a massive thank you to Owen Kyo on Instagram, who was the person that first brought these new sets to my attention, so I'll have a link to his Instagram down in the description. Now, the only public information we have so far about these upcoming Lego Overwatch sets comes from the Nuremberg Toy Fair in Germany, which took place a short while ago. At the Toy Fair, various companies showed off various new products they're going to be releasing in 2019, and of course, Lego made an appearance showing off many of their new sets for the new year as well. And while unfortunately no pictures were allowed to be taken at this fair itself, there were a number of people present who took note of the different toys and various sets they saw present at the Toy Fair. And for Lego, it looks like they're going to be continuing the Overwatch theme with 2 new sets to be released this coming summer. Now, as I said, we don't have any pictures of these new sets, and apparently they were both still under placeholder names at the time of the Toy Fair, and it sounds like they may have even just been prototype sets without proper box artwork or even detailing on the minifigures themselves. However, we do have the placeholder names for these 2 sets, which are Bike and Droid. Now, these names may sound a bit strange, especially the latter one, which I'll be talking about in just a second, but first up I want to touch on Bike because I think this one is very straightforward. As I'm sure many of you thought of at this point already upon hearing the word Bike, there's only really one bike which stands out as being really significant in the Overwatch universe, and that of course is the chopper bike, which belongs to Junkrat and Roadhog. I think it's very safe to say that this bike will be the chopper bike we see on Junkertown and in the Junkrat and Roadhog origin story, and the set itself will of course include Junkrat and Roadhog as minifigures, with Roadhog most likely being a big fig similar to Winston, which we saw in the Gibraltar set, which was released already. As for which other minifigures this set may include, well, it's kind of hard to say. It might just be Junkrat and Roadhog, although it would be really nice if they were to throw in another hero as well to serve as the sort of other side, because Junkrat and Roadhog are obviously sort of chaotic evil in a way, and so it'd be nice to have another good hero that might be sort of their opponent in the set, so you can have a bit of an action scene. But unfortunately, there weren't really any details given about the exact number of minifigures that were present with each of these sets, so this is something that we're just gonna have to wait and see. If I had to hazard a guess as for the price range of this set, I'd say it'd likely be either $20 or $30, depending on how big and detailed the bike ends up being and whether they include some other details with the set as well. They might do something similar to what they did with the Dorado set in that they include some sort of scenery pieces from Junkertown, which I gotta say would be really cool because I'm a huge fan of that map. At this point, it doesn't sound like there's really much more information to go on for this set. Another bike which I considered that could possibly be would be Ash's bike, which we saw in the most recent animated short. However, that's much less significant than Junkrat and Roadhog's bike, especially considering that Ash is a very recent hero, so it seems unlikely that Lego would be developing a set based around her at this point in time, which makes me pretty confident that it will be a Junkrat and Roadhog set, as those are 2 very popular heroes who are very well known by people likely even outside of the Overwatch community. But moving on now to the second set which was present at the Toy Fair, we have Droid. Now, this one is much more difficult to pin down, and based on the details shared by the people who are present at the Toy Fair, it's been much more difficult for me to actually get any proper information about what model this is going to be. Given that the majority of people who are interested in taking note on new Lego products coming out at Toy Fairs aren't necessarily Overwatch fans as well, most of them obviously weren't able to really recognize the characters, and so we have to go off of some sort of rudimentary details about the set itself. Going by just the name Droid, it seems most likely that this set is going to be a robot or Omnic of some kind. A lot of the people who are discussing this online seem to think that it's either going to be Bastion or Orisa, since they're the 2 most prominent Omnics that you'd consider as droids. Sure, it could be Zenyatta as well, but unless the set just included Zenyatta as a minifigure and for whatever reason was named just Droid as a reference to Zenyatta, I don't know, that just seems much less likely to me than it being a bigger built model like the Bastion Bastion one we already have from the previous wave. Which, speaking of which, the fact that we already have that set made me strongly rule out the possibility of it being another Bastion set. I mean, we literally already have 2 Bastions if you count the Blizzard Store exclusive one, so it seemed more likely that the set would be a buildable model of Orisa. There were some other things I considered as well, such as the possibility of Snowball being May's little weather drone. If there were to be a set where you build a large-scale model of him, it might also include a small May minifigure, which would be pretty cool. However, after doing quite a bit of digging and sifting through different accounts of people who were recalling what they had seen at the toy fair, the most prominent details I was able to pick up is that the model itself is sand green in color and has a rounded front. Now, for reference, this is what sand green Lego bricks look like. Jumping back to the idea of Orisa, yeah, she has some elements on her that I guess you could call sand green, but overall she's definitely much more tan in color, which then made me consider that maybe it isn't actually Orisa after all. In fact, considering the specific Lego brick color, I can only really think of one droid-esque rounded hero who would fit this color scheme. That's right, the upcoming droid set could quite possibly be Wrecking Ball. Now, this is highly speculative and going off of very few details which are present at this point in time, but considering the color that the upcoming set is supposed to be and the fact that it apparently has a rounded front, it sounds like this set could quite possibly be a large buildable Wrecking Ball mech, which would likely come with either a buildable Hammond as well, or maybe even a Hammond minifigure of some kind. Now, I will also add that making a spherical transforming mech like this would be very, very difficult to do in Lego, which made me incredibly skeptical even with the details we have so far. That in addition to the fact that, well, Wrecking Ball is a much more recent hero and definitely not one that's incredibly crucial to the overall main story. So at this point in time, it is really tough to say whether or not the droid set is in fact going to be Wrecking Ball. Personally, I would be just as happy with it being Wrecking Ball or Orisa, as they're both heroes that I play quite a lot. But overall, I've become even more excited to see what these sets are actually going to end up looking like and seeing which heroes will ultimately end up being included. As I said, I think Junkrat and Roadhog are almost guaranteed at this point, and possibly Wrecking Ball as well, depending on what the droid set does end up being. Fortunately though, we aren't going to have to wait that long before we'll get official images of these sets, as later this month there's going to be a toy fair in New York where photography of the Lego sets is allowed. So once that toy fair starts and people start sharing the images on the internet, we should have some decent looks at what these two sets are going to be. So once more information is available, I'll be making a follow-up video to this to keep you all informed about what kind of sets and heroes we can expect for this coming summer. One last thing I do want to point out though that is a little disappointing is the fact that yes, this set wave only has 2 sets in it, which is generally a trend I've seen Lego do when they're planning to cancel a theme. Now, it's not guaranteed, they could always come back next January with 6 new sets for the Overwatch theme, and I absolutely hope that they do, but typically when Lego is looking to sort of wind down a theme and ultimately cancel it, they'll release a sort of final mini wave that'll only have like 2 or 3 sets in it as a way to sort of close out the theme. Whether or not that is what they're doing here with these 2 summer sets is kinda hard to say. We don't really have any stats so far regarding how well the Lego Overwatch sets have been selling at this point. I mean, they have only been out for a couple months, so let's just keep our fingers crossed that Lego is ultimately making a good profit off of these sets, and thus we'll be getting more and more of them as the years go on. Anyways, that'll do it for today's news update. Thank you all so much for watching, and vote in today's poll card for whether you'd rather have a buildable Lego Orisa or a buildable Wrecking Ball. Either way, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and share it with a friend if you really liked it. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit up the bell to never miss any of my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.